because you fell, you fat pig. Have another donut. Have another donut.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Have Another Donut, a New Jersey Devils podcast presented by Gozilla Media. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm your host. Sorry, I'm a little bit woozy from having a flu shot on Friday, so I'm still a little bit not say out of commission, but I'm in commission, but I'm a little bit sinusy right now. So if you can hear my voice, I apologize, but I also don't apologize because I'm taking care of my health. So let's get into this week's podcast. I took a week off and I'll explain that in just a moment. But first, what you want to do is find us on Twitter. That's our only social media platform we have right now for this podcast. You can find it on Twitter right here at Devil's Donut Pod. I'll be sure to live tweet some some games, more games during the season. Now my schedule is a little bit more steady in terms of the New Jersey Devils. So I'll do some live tweeting on that during games. Also, subscribe to the podcast. Anchor is our home base, but you can also subscribe on Spotify and Amazon Music. So those are the only two platforms we have right now. I'm still trying to get on iTunes, still trying to get on other podcast platforms, but right now, Anchor, Spotify, and Amazon Music is where you want to be. While you're at it, when subscribing, subscribe to Gozilla Media on YouTube. Just hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That way you know when other podcasts, including this one for Have Another Donut, is on. I try to get this actually Goz tries to get these episodes up on Monday morning. We try to get odder times so it doesn't interfere with other channels downloads, scheduled downloads, because if you have it on an off time, you can get more notice that way. So also leave a comment. Give this video a like. Also leave a comment below in the description. I will do my best to read them. I don't always get the comments from Goz, but I'll check to see if I have a comment whenever I have an episode of Have Another Donut up. So let's get into it. So what happened last week? Well, here's what happened last week. I had some events for my family that went down. They prevented me from recording. I had a family emergency. Thankfully, everything has been resolved, and people in my family who needed better care than what they had currently, they're getting that extra care. So extra special care. Shout out to everyone at St. Peter's and Eddie Harbor House for taking care of a particular member of my family. I won't name them who they are, but they're taking very good care of my family. And that's all you really need to know. That's why I wasn't recording last week. So we got a lot to get into. So let's talk about the last 2 weeks in New Jersey Devils hockey. We had a pair of winning streaks. We had a couple 3-game winning streaks against Anaheim, the New York Islanders, and San Jose. The Devils had a shaky start against Anaheim, where they were just coming off a 2-game losing streak. They had very bad games against Philadelphia and against Detroit. However, they also got off to a really shaky start against Anaheim, letting in 2 unanswered goals. But then the Devils came back. They scored 4 unanswered, and they got the win against Anaheim. That was on Tuesday. That was the 17th. Then they traveled to Long Island on Thursday, the 20th. They played the Islanders at UBS Arena. They did not allow a shot on goal for the first, if I remember correctly, they did not allow a shot on goal until I believe it was 17 minutes into the game. It was a crazy night. I mean, look at this. I mean, look at that stats from that game. First period, shot on goal, trying to find it. I just can't seem to find it until at least 18 minutes into the period. So that was a really dominant win against the Islanders. And then on Saturday afternoon, they come back to the Rock. They come back to the Prudential Center, and they beat a young San Jose team. And the Devils went up 2-0. They're playing a team that has pretty decent defense. They're pretty locked up in terms of their defense. They also have good goaltending with Kako Kapanen in goal. And this game should have been, I wouldn't say it's a lot. The score indicates a lot closer than what it should have been. And I'll get into that in just a moment in terms of shots on goal. But a pretty significant event happened in this game is in that the New Jersey Devils scored a power play goal on the Sharks for the first time this season. They were up. They are 22 of 22 up until they played the Devils. Devils scored a power play goal in the second period, and that was it. So their 3-game winning streak. At that point, and the following Tuesday, which was the 25th, Washington, the Capitals come to town. Capitals are a little bit older. They have a core group that's getting older with Ovechkin, Johansson, Kuznetsov, Oshie, Eller, Carlson. But this group still knows how to win. And they won a cup in 2018. So this is a team that knows how to win. They know how to get to the playoffs. And they played a team that was obviously riding pretty high and beating 3 pretty inferior opponents. So it was a really shaky start for the Devils. They get off to a shaky start. They come back in the game, but however, they lose by 3 goals against a very good Washington team. And then the next night, they're in Detroit. It's a back-to-back night for the New Jersey Devils. I'm sorry, it was a Monday game. It was Monday the 24th, and then they play the next night in Detroit, which actually turned out to be a revenge game against the Detroit Red Wings. They had lost to them on opening night at home. Then they go to Detroit to go to the Little Caesars Arena, and they went up beating them handily 6-2. What a game for Jesper Bratt. 2 goals, 1 assist. Jack Hughes is getting on the scoreboard with a goal and an assist. I believe his assist was on the power play goal that Jesper Bratt scored. And Ryan Graves, the gravy train, 2 assists for him on this night. The Devils only had 1 power play in that game against Detroit, and they converted on it. So 100% good on them. They get the big win in Detroit. You go back home to the Rock for a 2-game set against the defending Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. I watched most of this game. This was a very entertaining game. Even though it was a 1-0 game, the Devils went up winning that game. It was a very entertaining match. There's 2 teams, very similar styles in terms of a 1-2-2 system. We have 1 forward going in, pinching in, 1 forward going in, and then 2 forwards pinching after them, and 2 defensemen back. So very similar styles. The Devils actually got outshot for the first time this season, 24-23. However, Jack Hughes got a power play goal the third period. That put them in front. And then the Devils hung on the rest of the way. They were actually 6 for 6 on penalty kills, and that included a very key moment in the second period where John Marino had the best play of the game. Defensively, he had was right next to Vitek Vanacek, who actually got the shutout in this game. Maybe prevented a goal from going in. If you watch the replay, it's probably up on YouTube, or if it's on Twitter, you can search for the New Jersey Devils for the highlights of that game. That was a great play by John Marino. He wound up getting the 3rd star in that game. Then on Sunday afternoon, a 3:00 start for the New Jersey Devils, and they against Columbus, and this was a runaway from the beginning. Devils win 7-1. Nico Hischier gets 2 points. John Marino gets on the scoreboard for the first time this season as a New Jersey Devil. What a trade that is for Tom Fitzgerald. He's slowly turning into the Joe Douglas of the NHL, where he's flipping players and getting good returns. John Marino was traded this summer from the Pittsburgh Penguins for Ty Smith. For Ty Smith, he's currently in Wilkes-Barre Scranton. He's starting the year in Wilkes-Barre Scranton. So they can tell how far his star has fallen. And I really hope he gets back to the NHL. But right now he's currently in Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Fabian Zetterlund got the scoring run away in the first period with a goal. Devils were 1 for 3 on the power play in that game, but most importantly, this has just been a fun time if you're a New Jersey Devils fan. And you're kind of wondering what has changed with this team since the first 2 games of the season. I can tell you a few things. First off, head coach Lindy Ruff, he's dressing 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. Now, if you're new to hockey or you don't follow hockey that much, uh, your typical lineup for a hockey game is 12 forwards and 6 defensemen. Now, when you're dressing 11 forwards and 7 defensemen, that ice time between the defensemen is spread out between all of them, and accommodates for in terms of an injury to the forwards. We'll get to the injuries, very key injury for the Devils in a few moments. The tendency does have a tendency to backfire. It does have a tendency to put a lot of emphasis on your top scoring line. So guys like Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, they're gonna have a lot more time on the ice, which means they gotta put up the points. So it might act as a detriment, and maybe it might act as a detriment in the future. But right now, it's working. It's working. And speaking of working, the top lines and the top forwards for the New Jersey Devils, they're clicking. Jesper Bratt, he's fourth in the NHL in scoring with 4 goals and 11 assists right now, and he's riding a 9-game scoring streak. So he has 1 point, so either a goal or an assist in his last 9 games. Nico Hischier at center, he's second on the team in scoring, 4 goals, 5 assists. Even though it's very early in the season, he's quietly entering the discussion for a Frank Selke trophy as the top defensive forward in the NHL. Jack Hughes, after a slow start, he's starting to get right. He's got a 3-game point streak right now with 3 goals and 5 assists. That includes that aforementioned game-winning power play goal on Friday night against Colorado. Another thing that's changed is that the Devils they've been a lot more possessive of the puck at forward. And they're also putting lots and lots and lots of shots on goal against opponents. The Devils have only been outshot once this season in 9 games. Again, 24-23 against Colorado, but it was a shutout win. And the Devils have actually not outscored, but they've actually outscored their opponents 31-23, but they've also outshot their opponents. And listen to this stat: 354 to 195. They're averaging 39.3 shots per game. They're limiting opponents to 21.7 shots per game. So the more time you have with the puck and the more shots you're getting on goal, you're better. Right now, their better chances are for winning for the New Jersey Devils. Now, I'm not an analytics nerd, but this may or may not be true in all cases. But for a young team like this who's trying to get their footing in terms of winning games and staying in games and closing out games. Last year they had a lot of trouble closing out games. This year they're not having too much of a problem. Once they get a lead and they maintain a lead, that lead stays. It turns and translates into W's, into wins. So lots and lots of shots on goals. They've also had better goaltending. And admittedly, for the first 2 games of the season, I highlighted this in episode 1, but when they had those 2 bad games, Mackenzie Blackwood with 4 goals allowed in the first game, Vitek Vanacek 5 goals in his first game. They've both been pretty solid in net for the last 9 games, or for the last 7 games. That's translated into 6 wins in 7 games. They're both. I mean, 2 goals against Anaheim, 1 goal against New York, the Islanders, 1 goal against the Sharks. Yeah, they had that speed bump. Blackwood got got the win against Anaheim, against the Islanders, and against the Sharks. Had that speed bump against the Capitals, but Vanacek comes in. He allows 2 goals against the Red Wings, gets a shutout against Avalanche, and allows only 1 goal against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So better goaltending can get you a lot of wins, but let's see if this pace continues. And Pierre Maguire, former NHL GM, former, I guess you could say, ice reporter for New York's NBC, not New York, NBC Sports, when NBC Sports had the contract. If you notice his interviews, very uncomfortable for the players, getting kind of close. But he's said in the past that if your team has 18 wins by Thanksgiving and at the end of November, your chances at making the playoffs, they're pretty good. Right now, the Devils are a third of the way there. This week's not going to get easy. They got to travel to Western Canada on Tuesday. They play Vancouver. They're at Vancouver, who has been woefully underachieving this year. Then they're at Edmonton on Thursday, and they're in Calgary on Saturday. They actually have a back-to-back against Calgary. That will be at Calgary on Saturday, and the following Tuesday, the 8th, they're back at home at the Rock against Calgary, who is regarded as one of the best teams in the NHL right now. They're one of my Stanley Cup picks for the to be one of those. They're my pick. They're my pick to be the Western representative in the Stanley Cup final. I won't tell you who my Eastern representative is, but they happen to play in the Metropolitan Division. And actually, Calgary is in third place in the Pacific with 10 points right now. They're 2 behind Edmonton. So, and which is kind of where I expected them to be at this point. So if they can get those 18 wins by by Thanksgiving, I mean, they still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 games. If they can get another 6 wins in those games, and a lot of those games are winnable. They're playing Vancouver on Tuesday. That should be a winnable game. Ottawa, Arizona, Montreal. Ottawa is actually surprising a lot of people. Arizona, that's a winnable game. At Montreal, that's a winnable game. Toronto might be tough at Ottawa. So they could probably get about 4 or 5 wins within that time frame. So I could see them winning. I could see them at 10-11 wins by Thanksgiving, which is on November 24th. So I don't know how you're going to get 18 wins by the time Thanksgiving comes around, but if they can get another 5 to 6 wins and you're at 12-6, your chances of making the playoffs are good. Now, speaking of Jesper Bratt, he's betting on himself this year. And this is the year, especially in New York Metro sports, of betting on yourself. 2022 is a betting on yourself year. Look at Aaron Judge, New York Yankees. Look at Quinnen Williams, New York Jets. Outside the New York Metro area, Baltimore quarterback Lamar Jackson. They're all in they're on 1-year deals for arbitration, or they're in their final deal of their rookie contract, and they want to get paid. Aaron Judge, we saw, if you're a Yankee fan or if you're a baseball fan, he broke the American League home run record with 62 this year. Quinnen Williams is quickly becoming one of the more dominant defensive tackles in the NFL. He leads the Jets in sacks and tackles for a loss. And Lamar Jackson, he's returning to form as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, what does this have to do with Jesper Bratt? Well, Jesper Bratt in the offseason was a restricted free agent, and Devils fans were begging Tom Fitzgerald to extend Jesper Bratt after leading the team in points last season. Jack Hughes, as we know, went down injury. Bratt had the best season of his career. Went up at 73 points. I believe it was 37 goals and 30. I mean, it was 67 points. Can't remember off the top of my head, but he led the team in scoring, both in goals and assists. And we, as Devils fans, wanted him to get his contract extension. Instead, he was given a 1-year, $5.4 million contract. He'll be an RFA again, that's a restricted free agent, again in 2023. So right now, Bratt is currently 4th in NHL in scoring. He's behind, I believe, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and I can't remember who the third one was. Pasternak from Boston. David Pasternak in Boston. Now, it's a long shot. And if Bratt continues his pace, and it's a very big long shot, and if he wins the Art Ross Trophy as the leading scorer in the NHL this year, he's going to get paid. Now, can the Devils afford him at the moment? No, they can't. They're literally at $0 in cap space. But And they can't extend him until January anyway, as part of the CBA, part of the collective bargaining agreement with restricted free agents. He can't actually extend until January. But you got several contracts coming off the books this year. 3 names I can name: Tomas Tatar, Jonathan Bernier. Yes, Jonathan Bernier is still a New Jersey Devil. He's been on. It was on IR most of last year. And Andreas Johnson, who's currently in Utica. He was released from the team, didn't clear waivers. He cleared the waivers and went to Utica. So he's currently in Utica. He actually got called up. I'll address that in a second. But with those 3 contracts coming off the books, that's $12 million right there. About 12, 13, $14 million right there. He might be able to afford keeping the Swedish forward. Now, in regards to the injury, tough injury. Andre Palat, he went to the IR effective October 24th, so he did not play in Monday's game. Or he left Monday's game with an injury. He hasn't returned. He was placed on IR retroactive to October 24th with lower body injury. He will not travel to Western Canada on this. He won't go on the Western Canada trip with New Jersey. So as a result, Devils have recalled Andreas Johnson from Utica. Again, this week's Western Canada trip. They're in Vancouver on Tuesday. They're in Edmonton on Thursday. Then they're at Calgary on Saturday night. So that's it for the Devils side. We're going to go over to the minor league report in just a moment or two. But before I do that, I want to thank one of our partners at Gozilla Media, and that is Mohawk Honda. Hey, you know what? If you're looking for a new car, these fine folks at Mohawk Honda, they want to put you in a vehicle ASAP, and they also want to buy your car. This is the best time of year. And right now it's fall. Leaves are on the ground. Halloween's around the corner. Actually, as of this recording, today is Halloween. So happy Halloween, everybody. Pumpkin muffins, pumpkin vanilla lattes, beautiful foliage, crisp morning air. It's fall. Seasons may change, but the one constant is the buying experience at Mohawk Honda. You'll be greeted with a smile. You'll be treated with respect. And with that, the new vehicle inventory is ramping up too, with pilots, passports, and ridgelines. And remember, this is the best time to sell your vehicle. Best time ever. They want to buy your car. And in some cases, you may be able to sell it for more than you paid for it. Just another advantage you get from the number 1 volume dealer in the capital region. General Manager Greg Johnson, his team of sales associates and consultants are always available to help you in the buying process. And the big news, Scott Moynihan is back at Mohawk Honda, bringing his 30-plus years of automotive experience with him. Stop in and welcome Scott home. You can also see my guy, Evan Easy Whalen. He got me into the loving arms of a 2016 Honda HR-V. Yes, the season's changed, but at Mohawk Honda on Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia and online at mohawkhonda.com, they always go out of their way to please you. Now let's go over to the farm. We're going to go over to Down on the Farm. Oh, one more thing. If you're a local donut shop and you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast right now, and you're looking to sponsor this podcast, because, listen, this podcast is named Have Another Donut. It's a New Jersey Devils podcast. If you're a local donut shop and you either want to donate to the show, you want to sponsor the show, you want to donate a donut for me to try while I'm recording, let me know at either Have Another Donut 1982 at gmail.com. That's Have Another Donut 1982 at gmail.com, or write me directly at Ryan at GozillaMedia.com. That's Ryan at GozillaMedia.com. And again, if you give me a donut, I'll eat it and review it on the air. So, Down on the Farm, this is a new weekly segment. Actually, I'm going to keep it bi-weekly because of all the things going on in New Jersey right now. But this is going to be the update from Utica and Adirondack. Now, the Utica Comets, they are the New Jersey Devils AHL affiliate. That's like the AAA it's like AAA baseball. AAA in baseball terms, this is hockey. So you could call this the AAA of hockey. So the Comets got their season underway on October 15th. They are currently last in the AHL North Division with a 2-3 record, 4 points in 5 games. And they've only played 5 games because their season opener was supposed to take place on October 17th. However, they had a power outage at Adirondack Bank Center, uh, and that game against Wilkes-Barre Scranton that was supposed to be played on October 17th will now take place on January 24th. So I guess any tickets you bought for that game will be honored on January 24th. Now, this year's record is a far cry from last year when the Comets raced out to a 13 game consecutive winning streak, the longest winning streak to open a season in AHL history. But consider a lot of the guys, one of the guys who was there last year, it's Alexander Holtz. He's currently in New Jersey. He's been scratched for a couple of games. He hasn't been playing as much as he did when he was in the opening night's lineup. He actually scored the first goal of the year for the New Jersey Devils, but he's been a healthy scratch the last couple of games. I don't know if he'll be sent back down. We'll see, but we'll find out eventually. The current leading scorer for the Comets is the aforementioned Andreas Johnson. He has 1 goal and 4 assists in those 5 games. Excuse me. So he'll be with the big club for a bit, or they go to Western Canada. Prospect to watch over the next couple of games: Simon Nemec. He was the defenseman selected 2nd overall in this year's 2022 NHL draft. He scored his first professional goal, first professional North American goal against Cleveland in a 5-1 win on Friday. And he's a guy you want to watch if you're in Utica. He started the year with the Devils, but was sent down it was sent down right before the season started, and they brought up Kevin Ball to play in that 11 forward 7 defenseman set. So he's currently in Utica. He's enjoying his time. Again, scored his first professional goal. Also was awarded the first star in that game on Friday. So he's one guy you want to watch if you're a Utica Comets fan. This week for the Utica Comets, they're at home on Wednesday the 2nd against Providence, and they have a home against their bitter rival, the Rochester Americans. They're at Rochester on Friday night, and they're home on Saturday night, and that is against the Americans at Adirondack Bank Center. Now we move on to the Adirondack Thunder, locally here in the capital region. That's our professional hockey team. They play in the the Cool Insuring Arena at Glens Falls Civic Center. They started their new season on October 22nd. It's the first season for new head coach and Clifton Park native Pete MacArthur, who played a couple of years in Adirondack. He's a Clifton Park native. This is his first year as a new head coach. Thunder have gotten off to a bad start. They're actually 0-4 in their first 4 games. They're currently in last place in the ECHL's North Division. They've only played 1 opponent so far. The ACHL schedule is a little bit wonky, I could say, with a lot of teams traveling. Typically, the Thunder stay within their own division, although they do have a Western opponent coming into town next month. But they typically stay within the division. Don't play a whole lot of teams outside the division. So they've played Worcester. First 4 games, all have been losses. But the leading scorer so far for the Adirondack Thunder is Shane Harper. Forward has 1 goal and 4 assists in 4 games. And this past week, one of their goaltenders, Jake Thute, he signed a player tryout contract with the Cleveland Monsters of the American Hockey League. So he'll be spending some time up there while the team adjusts. This week, they're on the road. They'll be in Quebec for a 2-game till on Friday and Saturday against the Trois-Rivières Lions, which is the Montreal Canadiens ECHL affiliate. So that's your Down on the Farm report. And that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Have Another Donut. Before we end the show, just want to tell you about our Twitter account. This is our only account right now on social media, which is at Devil's Donut Pod. and subscribe to the podcast. Anchor is our home base, but you can also find us on Spotify and Amazon Music. If there are any other formats that we can get onto, Google Play. Google Play you can also find on Google Play as well. If we have any other formats that come across, we'll let you know about it. And while you're at it, subscribe on Gozilla Media. If you're watching this, you like this, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Gozilla Media. Hit the notification bell. That way you know when new videos for our other podcasts come up, like Levac and Goz, and Getting There with Goz, and Goz and the Go, and Bros and Bourbon, Sports with T and a Z, Pugsley's Pit, all those podcasts. It's Football in the Know. All those podcasts on Gozilla Media. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. And also, if you're watching this and you have some thoughts about the New Jersey Devils, leave a comment. I'll do my best to read it. I'll try to find it and read it. I want to do a mailbag this week, but we're only 2 episodes in. And actually, guys asked me who my top 4 New Jersey Devils of all time were. That'll be another episode, guys. That'll be another episode. So again, I want to thank you for either watching or listening to Have Another Donut, a New Jersey Devils podcast. Again, we are presented by Gozilla Media. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I have been your humble host. And until next week, have a great week. Let's go Devils.
Because you fell, you fat pig. I'm not coming